Hey everyone, and welcome back to my studio. I'm Jonathan the Painter, and this is Stay Colorful, our chance to explore art in an interesting way, in a colorful way, and in a positive way. And we're going to do it together. What we're going to paint this week is my kissing fish. And what the kissing fish came from really was me, and I think I talked about this in the last couple of weeks when I first picked up a paintbrush, and I was in the waiting room with my dad at the cancer center, and I would just kind of gravitate towards the things around me that were a good distraction. So there was always this fish tank, and I would do these two fish. The fish would always kind of be looking at each other or looking at their reflection in the mirror. And so I was always paint these little fish, and I'd leave them, and they'd make people happy, and they're really simple to do, and you could do them at any size. And I just kind of want to run through what that takes, and it could be really quick. We could do them on these little 6x6 black canvases. And actually what precipitated really the whole episode today was that the kissing fish from the original signed to my studio 15 years ago. And I have it out on the outside. I'm going to show a shot of it on the outside. It still hangs there. I moved it over when I moved to this spot. And so people had walked by years ago and had wanted me to paint it for them. And they came into my studio, and we had a great conversation about it and what it meant to them. And I said, you know what, I think this is going to turn into my next Stay Colorful episode. So they want it on wood and round. This isn't going to be theirs. This is going to be a little bit bigger. But I happen to have this spare piece, and I'm always telling everybody, paint on what you got. It doesn't matter if it's a piece of wood that's been stamped a bunch of times and the brush has been cleared up on it, or whether it's a blank piece of canvas, or, frankly, we could do it just as easy on this kind of extra canvas that I've been cleaning my brush on. And in a real quick order, we could do 3 different sets of kissing fish that all could feel really different. So with that being said, I'm going to get started. I might even get started on the little one here, right? And so the hardest part about this is choosing the color of the fish. Right now it's just a black canvas. But let's say we wanted a red fish, right? So I'm just going to put a little bit of red on here. Put a little bit of red on the bottom, a little bit of red on the top, just like this. So this is actually going to be one of the sides of the fish. We're going to do a pair, right? You can't see it, and then maybe we'll make the other one. This will be maybe a practice for this bigger round one we're doing. And maybe I'll do the other one facing the other way, and we'll do a little yellow. We'll throw a little yellow in there. So throw a little yellow in, right? Maybe we'll put a little white in just to kind of give it a little, oh, if my white's working. My white's not really working. It got a little closed up on me. That's all right. All right, now we got a little white. Right, and I'll put a little white in the red fish too. So, all right, we're back at it with our little canvas. And basically what we're going to do, and I'm just using this 3/4 inch brush. You could use a much smaller brush or really any size. We're going to create a little fish with a little mouth, just like that. It doesn't take much. Especially on this canvas. It's almost like, that's what I wanted to try it on. The darkness of the canvas gives it that depth of the water a little bit. Honestly, so it's not much more than this. And again, you could paint the edges if you want. You could leave the edges black, whatever you feel like, but you start to get the idea here, right, that we got a fish, and then really fill in a little for the eye here, maybe. Maybe we'll fill in a little we'll clean our brush right here because we're going to paint over this anyway. Maybe we'll fill a little eye in this one, right? And then when we let this dry, we're going to let this fish dry for a minute. So right, there's a start to our fish. I'm going to leave him here for now. And then we've got the yellow fish. I forget which way we were, something like this way. These will go together. So we got our yellow fish. Work some colors in, and I even left the red on the brush. You know what? It's going to work its way into the colors, and it's going to look nice, and you really can't go wrong. These fish are your fish, and they're easy to take care of, and you don't have to feed them. They don't make a mess. These are my kind of fish. You could give them names if you want, right? So already you can kind of see the premise of what we're doing here with the kissing fish. right? And again, we kind of clear our brush on this. We're going to paint over this. So this is kind of giving us a head start. You know, easier to paint over something that's already kind of been, painted on or started. And then we'll paint a little eye, a little contrast on the eye. You know, maybe like a little highlight on the top of the fish and on the mouth. And right, so now they kind of, and it's like, oh, those look good, but it does also feel like something's missing, like it's not quite come to life. Something's a little missing. Oh, gotta clear our brush, because we know that. But in short order, oh, I know what's missing. We got a little black. So as of right now, cadmium red, cadmium yellow, titanium white, ivory black. That's really all we've used. And this ivory black, it's the piece de resistance, as they say. I don't know who says that. And you could just put a dabble on. I didn't even use my brush. I just dabbed it right on. And you could leave it. You could play with it to your heart's content. There we go. Right? And so I think I'm not even going to do the blue in the background because I love how this black looks in these little canvases. And these could go anywhere. They could go next to each other, right? They could go above each other, below each other. They could be mad at each other. So this is going to be, let's use this as a springboard, as a template for what we're going to do on this wood piece right here. So I don't know if you could see this or not. I kind of do this without being able to see anything. But I'm going to leave them down there and I'll take those back up at the end. But really, you know, you could already start to, let's find a middle point, right? So I'm starting with a round. Do the same thing with the square. You could do the same thing with the rectangle, you know, and maybe let's pick like, even like the blue to start with, you know, to find some middle ground here. You know what we got to do? Find some middle ground. Painting's good like that. Gives us all a chance to come together and to focus on something colorful and positive. Come up with some good reasons to connect with each other and engage. All right, so let's call this more or less our center line, right? So we'll have one fish is going to be here, one fish mouth is going to be here. So they're going to be close. You know, they're kissing fish, but they need a little bit of our help to get them there, to get them to fall in love. So then let's say we've got this sort of you know, this fish head here. I'm gonna take a little of the white because I already got some color on the brush. So now I kind of feel like I can sketch this in. I do this a lot. I'll sketch in compositionally what I think might look good. And it always changes, always, always, always. But it gives me a start and what direction I feel like it should head. And it helps take my mind off the fact that I've got this big blank canvas that I got to fill up. And I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do it. So I just kind of start by roughing in. And sometimes I just do colors. I think maybe that'll even be next week's. It's just how to start a painting in a canvas and kind of clear your mind, a clearing your mind background. Right, let's throw the eyes in here. The eyes have it. Let's put the eyes in here because that'll help ground the painting here. And before you know it, we start to see where our fish might be, how they're looking at each other. We could choose our colors. We could choose the background. So let's say now we wanted to, you know, maybe like come in with a little bit of the water, you know, and give ourselves some definition. Oop, one of the fish fell. Fish down. All right, we saved them. Don't worry, the fish is back. All right, if they fall again, we'll move them. Right, so I put some of the titanium white in to the water, and I'm going to add a little cobalt blue. And it could be any blue. Cerulean blue. It could be Winsor blue. I mean, any kind of aqua, green, blue, and we're going to mix some other colors in here too. But this is honestly just to get us started, to get us a little sense of place on our painting, and to give us a little momentum so that our fish can start to swim a little bit, so to speak. You know, so that they can start to have some breathing room in the water and understand how it's all going to start to lay out. And you just kind of you could quickly mix this. I'm keeping off, I wouldn't say off, I am aware of where I kind of put the boundary lines in for the fish, right? So I'm kind of filling in between the fish mouths, the fish lips, and a little bit in between the bottom of the fish here. And I don't think this is a scientifically accurately drawn fish. This is more of a fun fish exercise. We're gonna throw these fish back after we're done with it, but we're not. We're gonna hang these fish on our wall, just like we're supposed to. All right, so we're gonna finish this up. I'm gonna add a little bit more. I'm gonna add a little bit more of the cobalt blue, just to kind of give it a little bit more depth, just before we start to get into the colors on the fish. And honestly, if we wanted to, like, go around the eye right now, and this is all going to get covered up, but this it's one of my other favorite things about this, besides people always coming by and just loving it, is the debate that happens. And you'll see, the yellow fish fell again. All right, we're going to move these guys. Sorry, guys. I shouldn't have put you there in the first place. Why don't I put you here? I don't know if you're going to get any screen time over here. Let's see. But I'll take you out at the end. Here, I'll hold you up one more time, because I like them. Oh, I like these guys. They came out nice. So you see kind of where we're headed with this. Oop, you got a little dust on them. You know where you're headed on this with these guys. So I'm gonna perch these up here, red and yellow. So one of my favorite things is the conversations that it elicits. I think I talk about that each week, is that I paint for me, and it's the process of painting. And that's why when you get started painting, just enjoy the process, because that's the part that's for you. The looking at it part, that's for everybody else to do. That's like, that's out of our control. You know, but this is the part we can have fun with. So like right now, it's looking like this. It doesn't even really look like anything. But I know it will. I know it will. Because we just added the blue. We roughed in our fish, right? We roughed in our fish with our little fishy lips and maybe an eye, so we kind of see where it's going. And then we filled in with our cobalt blue and a little titanium white, and said you could use some Winsor blue if you wanted to go in. Winsor blue is a nice color, actually. We're going to use this a little at the end, but just so you see like the difference here. You see how that's nice. That's a nice deep color. So we'll come in with that at the end, and we're going to add a little bit of depth and just interest in the water with some different color, maybe some movement in the water is what I'm trying to get at. However, let's get back to these fish. So we've got red and we've got yellow, and it's like, well, what should we do first? Well, I'm going to start with the red because I already have blue on the brush, and I kind of feel like if I mix the red and the blue, I'm going to get this nice purpley color, deeper purple color. And as a first layer, that's going to be really nice to get down on the fish, because we could build lighter off of that. We could go dark to light. You know, you could go either direction with it you want, but I think in this particular case, I'm going to go dark to light. Makes it a little easier. And always know, at any time, you stop, you let this thing dry, you pick it back up. Don't get frustrated with it. It's your friend. These fish are our friends, right? And so before we know it, look, even I'm going to step back from this. It already starts to make me happier. You know, you got some of these, the red and the blue mixed in and gave us this nice, like, I don't know, burgundy, purpley color. That's nice. I like that. You know, add a little more red. And what's good here too is that by adding a little of this red and building up the red color here, and let's say now on the fishy lips, I'm going to add a little more red in here, and even though it's picking up the blue, that's okay, because we love when the colors mix on the page. That's what they should do. They're happy together. They like to dance. So here we go. So we've got one fish kind of, you know, and then if we add a little of the titanium white, up maybe, oop, that's a lot. I'll put a little in the eye here, right? And then we can give ourselves start to build a little depth or a little reflection. It's maybe a little more than I wanted, but we're going to go in after and adjust. We're going to make all of our adjustments. But what's nice about this is it starts to clear the brush to a certain degree, because now we're going to think about starting our yellow fish starting yellow while red dries. Lefty and righty. It's another painting I should do. I did these two frogs, the dancing in the rain frogs. And it was right after my dad died, and I opened up my architectural office. And before I considered painting, even the path of painting to be an option, this really nice person came in and ended up buying this frogs painting off me. It was just in my office, taking up space, and ended up writing me and hung it. And they had a child, and they had twins, and they named one of the frogs Lefty and one of the frogs Righty, and it just made me so happy. And so maybe we'll do this with the fish today. Maybe we're going to go Lefty and Righty in honor of my frogs, and that's a good painting to do. That's like one of these where, I think it looks a little bit more daunting at the end than when you even see it unfold. I think it kind of, you see the magic happen, and it makes it like something you could do. It makes it approachable, and that's what I want. I want everybody to say, "Oh, I want to paint a fish, except I want my fish to be pink and green," or "I want there to be a fish in the middle," or "I want to try it with, with fins on my fish." All of these things are great, and that's the point. Is you kind of get rolling with it, and you get excited about it, and you just don't know where it leads to. That's really been my journey with painting, and my journey since my dad was diagnosed with cancer and passed away, is that I've stayed positive, I'd stayed colorful, and I've kept doing the things that kept us connected with the people around me, and with the people who come into my studio, and with the people I get to paint with at the hospital. And it's been a real gift for me, because I feel like all that time I spent painting with him was really for something that helped other people. And he was such the person. Cadmium yellow, by the way. I get carried away sometimes with these telling stories, and it's mixing with the titanium white, and it'll pick up on this blue a little bit, and coming to the yellow and the blue will make the green, just like the red and the blue is going to make the purple. We've got these kind of secondary complementary colors. That's what it's called. Like I said, I never took art class. I just really like it a lot, and it's really relaxing. So yeah, these same conversations that I'd sit and have with my dad and my mom and my brother in the waiting room, and now I get to have with people at my studio. And I never would have expected that any of this was possible, and that the gift of painting would give me so much. And that was, I think, one of the things that gave my dad the most peace was knowing that we had found these outlets. We were together as a family, and we had these outlets that kept us close and kept us grounded and kept us seeing the good in the world. So here's our yellow fish. You can actually see the blue that got picked up there and turned a little green. Looks nice, though. I do like the green. And up here in New England, it's a lot of those waters can reflect that. This is almost like the fish reflecting some waters in the scale. And then maybe we'll add a little yellow even in Lefty. And then in Righty over here, I think he needs a little more white in the eye. Don't fire till you see the whites of their eyes. Right, and there we go. We got the mouth coming back. We got a little contrast and some happiness happening there. It's just fast strokes. It's just quick strokes. That's when I started painting. I started painting quick because time was of the essence and didn't know how long I'd be at a certain place. So the fish are definitely a product of that. So now we got to the same point with these guys, and then we're like, well, so what am I missing? Like, what am I missing here? And it's like, oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Ivory black. Da 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 da. Just like that, right? Then we'll do the same. We'll add a little depth into the little fishy lips, little fishy mouth. Look at these guys. These guys look happy. I think they look happy. they're off for an adventure. That's for sure. You know, and I'm just going to mix the rest of my brush in here because I'm going to end up adding a little more blue and having the color and cleaning my brush off. I think is going to be a nice thing. So, that being said, let's work backwards a little here. Let's add a little yellow in to righty. Remind ourselves who yellow is around here. Right, that's nice. Maybe a little yellow into the lips, the little fishy lips. And then just kind of spread it out. Share the yellow love. Right? And then, maybe even in the lefty red, maybe we'll throw a little yellow accent. Right? And now, let's move over to red, to righty red, lefty red over here. My lefts from my rights. And then maybe throw a little red. Maybe they've kissed before. And then clear out through the red down here. And what's fun about this, do you know what too? Maybe like a little dash of white in the pupil. Boop. Just like that. Right, and then maybe we'll come in, maybe we'll finish this off with a little, with a little more of this darker blue, this cobalt, this Winsor blue. Royal, call it the Queen's blue. Everybody, come in with the Queen's Winsor blue. And like so. And really, it's any blue. It's cerulean, it's cobalt, it could be pink, it could be rainbow. It doesn't even need to be blue. It could be like we did with the original canvases and we left them black. And I think that looked pretty great too. Right, so then we've got this, and then maybe cut it into the fish a little closer here. That's what's nice when that's why I like these flat brushes too, is because when you get a good amount of paint on them, you can end up cutting in. I don't know if you could really see that, but you can cut in pretty nicely because it's got the thickness of the paint to kind of keep the rigidity of the brush going. So it's all very scientific stuff, as you could tell. So just kind of finish it up like this. And then maybe at the top, maybe we add just a little lighter color. You know, we mix it in, we kind of feather it in, if you will, with a little lighter color on the top here. Right, and it just kind of mixes so nicely, whether it's on the wood. Wood mixes just as nicely as the canvas mixes, really. And I painted everything. I painted my vinyl chairs, painted the outside of my building and wood shingles. Acrylic paint is pretty impressive stuff. I should do a what can I paint with acrylic paint tutorial. It'll be a pretty quick video because the answer would be pretty much everything. I kind of feel like, I wouldn't do like a pet or like a plant. Probably stay away from that. All right, what do we think about that? That's kind of nice. What do we go? A little bit more blue. So, I'll go back to the conversation I was having with myself and you, but mostly with myself beforehand. And it was one of my favorite things about this piece is that A, is one of the first things I did, and I did this at the hospital, and then the nurses and the doctors loved this and would hang it up, and it just always makes me happy. My dad, who would always was a big fisherman, and he loved to sit out there with his rod, and so it makes me think of him. But the people walk by, and the debates you hear, and it's, oh, look at that, look at that butterfly. No, it's not a butterfly. It's an owl. Oh, it's not an owl. It's kissing fish. Oh, it's definitely not kissing fish. Definitely a butterfly. And I have heard this debate time and time again. So to settle the debate, I do call it my kissing fish. But this is what I say. I do the painting part. You guys do the looking at it part. So whatever it means to you, the kissing fish, the friends, family, strangers, owls, butterflies, that's exactly what it is. And that makes me so happy because it makes me feel like you take ownership of the painting and that art is the verb, that art is engaging, and that you can help see the world from a little bit more colorful of a perspective. So that's our Kissing Fish for today. I really appreciate you hanging out with me in the studio. I could run through this all again, but it's just some simple colors and it's some simple shapes, and it really does come to life. And I would want you to do it and want you to make it yours, and I want you to have fun with it. And I will definitely catch up with you soon. Keep being you, keep up the great work, everybody, and see you next week.